Y'all, this is so much harder than it needs to be. I'm just going to tweet this out real quick and we'll get started. Okay, it's live now. Cool. Very cool. And then a copy. I'm going to get this all down pretty soon. All right, cool. Here we go. Y'all, this is so much harder than it needs to be. All right. Good evening, Yang Gang. Thank you for joining me here at Securing the Bag with Seth Underwood. Okay, it's live now. This is your host, Seth Underwood, in case you weren't sure. Ladies and gentlemen, the technological singularity is at hand, so we have a lot to talk about and very little time to do so. So, of course, we're talking about all things Andrew Yang, universal basic income. I'm going to get this all down pretty soon. Technological singularity, all right, cool. Aliens, here we go. Game of Thrones, whatever's on my mind, really. Tonight we're going to be talking a lot about Lauren Chen, all right. Who is good evening, Yang Gang. Thank you for joining me here at Securing the Bag with conservative, alternative conservative commentary, in case you weren't on Blaze TV. Ladies and gentlemen, the technological singularity is at hand, so we have a lot to talk about and very little time to do so. So she had some interesting things to say about universal basic income. So of course we're talking about all things Andrew Yang, universal basic income. I'm going to get this all down. Yang's been in the media lately with a raspy voice. It seems like he's on the up and up lately. Is good. Tonight we're going to be talking a lot about HBO. All right. Good evening, Yang Gang. Thank you for joining me here at Securing the Bag with conservative, alternative conservative commentary in case you want to definitely go. Ladies and gentlemen, the technological singularity is at hand, so we have a lot to talk about today. So she had some interesting things to say about so of course we're talking about all things Andrew Yang, universal basic income. I'm going to get this all down. Yang's been in the media lately with a raspy voice. It seems like he's on. You'll know that I've been engaging with more nice. All right. Good evening, Yang Gang. Thank you for joining me here at Securing the Bag. Exactly what it is they want. Alternative conservative commentary. Definitely go. Ladies and gentlemen, the technological singularity is at hand, so we have a lot to talk about today. So she had some interesting things to say about. So of course we're talking about all things Andrew Yang, universal basic income. I'm going to get this all down. Yang's been in the media lately with a raspy green screen, whatever's on. You'll know that I've been engaging with more nice. All right. Good evening, Yang Gang. Thank you for joining me here. I'm also hearing the bag. Exactly what it is they want. Alternative you have their cars and outside. That's because they might definitely go. Ladies and gentlemen, the technological singularity is at hand, so we have a lot to talk about. So she had some interesting things to say about. So we're talking about all these things. I'm going to get this all down. Yang's been in the media lately with a raspy green screen, whatever. You'll know that I've been engaged. So yeah, let's just get into it today. All right. Good evening, Yang Gang. Thank you for joining me here. I'm also hearing the bag. Exactly what it is they want. You guys are cars and outside. I don't know. Definitely go. Ladies and gentlemen, and I won't. Our singularity is at hand, so we have a lot to talk about. Very strong. I'm going to get this down. Yang's been in the media lately with a raspy green screen. You'll know that I've been engaged. So yeah, let's just get into it today. All right. Good evening, Yang Gang. Thank you for joining me here. I'm also hearing the bag. Exactly what it is they want. You guys are cars and outside. I don't definitely go. Ladies and gentlemen, and I won't. Our singularity is at hand, so we have a lot of you are very strong. I'm going to get this down. Yang's been in the media lately with a raspy green screen. Two full audiences. So yeah, let's just get into it today. All right. Good evening, Yang Gang. Basically, I'm also hearing the bag. Exactly what it is they want. You guys are cars and outside. I don't definitely go. Ladies and gentlemen, and I won't. Our singularity is at hand, so we have a lot of you are very strong. I don't want to go off all this much. I'm going to get this all. Yang's been in the media here with a raspy. Two full audiences. So yeah, let's just get into it. All right. Good evening, Yang Gang. Basically, I'm also hearing the bag. Exactly what it is they want. You guys are cars and outside. I don't definitely go. And I won't. Our singularity is at hand, so we have a lot of you are very strong. All right. So I'm going to try and do my best to go off on this. I'm going to get this all. Yang's been in the back here with a raspy. Two full audiences. So yeah, let's just get into some very All right, that's my evening engaged. Thank you for being up for that. I'm on securing the bag. What it is you guys are like. You guys are so hard. Yeah, but anyways, I don't think in action, and I will use this further. This is great. So I'm going to try and do my best along with you. It's going through. Some very interesting. All right, that's my evening engaged. Thank you for being up for that. I'm on securing the bag. What it is you guys are like. You guys are so hard. Yeah, but anyways, I don't think in action, and I will use this further. This is great. So I'm going to try and do my best along with you. It's going through. Some very interesting. All right, that's my evening engaged. Thank you for being up for that. I'm on securing the bag. What it is you guys are like. You guys are so hard. Yeah, but anyways, I don't think in action, and I will use this further. This is great. So I'm going to try and do my best along with you. It's going through. Very interesting. All right, that's my evening engaged. Thank you for being up for that. I'm on securing the bag. What it is you guys are like. You guys are so hard. Yeah, but anyways, I don't think in action, and I will use this further. This is great. So I'm going to try and do my best along with It's going through. Very interesting. All right, that's my evening engaged. Thank you for being up for that. I'm on securing the bag. What it is you guys are like. You guys are so hard. Yeah, but anyways, I don't think in action, and I will use this further. This is great. So I'm going to try and do my best along with It's going through. Very interesting. All right, that's my evening engaged. Thank you for being up for that. I'm on securing the bag. What it is you guys are like. You guys are so hard. Yeah, but anyways, I don't think in action, and I will use this further. This is great. So I'm going to try and do my best along with It's going through. Very interesting. All right, that's my evening engaged. Thank you for being up for that. I'm on securing the bag. What it is you guys are like. You guys are so hard. Yeah, but anyways, I don't think in action, and I will use this further. This is great. So I'm going to try and do my best along with It's going through. Very interesting. All right, that's my evening engaged. Thank you for being up for that. I'm on securing the bag. The argument is right. So I'm going to try and do my best along with It's going through. Very interesting. All right, that's my evening engaged. Thank you for being up for that. I'm on securing the bag. The argument is right. So I'm going to try and do my best along with It's going through. Very interesting. All right, that's my evening engaged. Thank you for being up for that. I'm on securing the bag. Right. I'm going to try and do my best along It's going through. Very interesting. All right, that's my evening engaged. Thank you for being up for that. Of course there was going to be technical issues. I set up the stream last night, and it was the absolute same, but it seems like it's rerouted my audio through to the microphone. Oh, man. Y'all let me know if that fixed it. I'm just going to sit here for a couple seconds. I don't know how long the delay is. And like I said, I really wanted to get the super chat up and running. Oh, man, has that fixed it? All right. Technical issues. That was going to be expected on the very first episode. So I'll just kind of continue along with there. I had some really good stuff that I was saying before now. And you guys all missed it. So I'll just have to save that for the next episode. All right. Let's see here. I was kind of getting into the meat and potatoes of the issue with Senator Sanders and his supporters, and the idea that they are this neo-Marxist kind of group, which is really coming out and showing their true colors now that the UBI versus jobs guarantee debate is getting into full swing. If you've been following my Twitter account, you've seen that I'm getting more and more engaged with these Sanders supporters, and it's like when you're asking them to confront why Senator Sanders is not for UBI, the correct answer that they should come back with is it's just not feasible. He thinks, like we got to get him through the door first. If he does it, he'll tank, but he'll probably do it in his first term or something. But no, like they're going to push back and actually start talking about why jobs guarantee is superior to a universal basic income. And of course, what this all boils down to is the idea of scarcity and resource management, right? That's all that civilization hierarchy is how much resources do you have in your area, and then what's the power hierarchy structure involved with that? Like who gets what, how is that distributed? That's how it's been since the beginning of time. And if you even just get toddlers and put them in a room and study things, like say they can perform a task as a group and they get candy or something, we can see that toddlers will even shun the people who aren't engaging with the group. So the idea of, you work, you earn your keep, it's coded within us. This is some deep-seated type of biology, but it's so, this is the thing, I don't think that they're malevolent. I don't think that people who are just so obsessed with working for your keep, it's not that they're just evil, it's that they're being, led into this biological trap, and that's the irony, that's the sick tragedy of the human condition, is that we can understand, and I think the Yang Gang understands, that we can get to an era of abundance, of post-scarcity, but the only thing that's keeping us back is the scarcity mindset, excuse me. And it's really starting to become apparent that Senator Sanders supporters are falling into this more and more, and I believe it's because there's a cognitive dissonance involved with the fact that there's a better option than Sanders, so they're just doubling down into, well, a jobs guarantee must be better because I've invested all of this time in the Sanders platform, and what if there is something better than Sanders? I had to go through that myself. I was a Bernie supporter in 2016, and it really sucked to see him turn his back on UBI. But they're digging their feet in so much here that it's becoming apparent that, to the point that they don't want technological abundance for everyone, to the point that they're actually going back and saying, no, everyone needs a job. Everyone needs to prove their worth. And it's like, hold on, who's saying this right now? What bizarro world are we living in where Bernie Sanders supporters are advocating for, means-tested welfare on a grand scale, on corporate or corporatization, basically government corporatization, this weird amalgamation of the two. But the problem is that this actually isn't that surprising, because one of my favorite jokes is your mama's so classless she's a Marxist utopia, because that's hilarious. Yo mama jokes are amazing, but more importantly because it talks a little bit about the fact that Marxism describes a utopia. Utopias are a concept that don't exist in reality, just like capitalism in its pure form doesn't exist in reality. We're an amalgamation of the two, and we went through this entire industrial revolution in the 1900s, and we're starting to talk about the fact that, oh, wow, it's fixed. Yes, it is fixed. Thank God. I missed so much. I missed so much before, but I'll just talk about it the next live stream. We're talking about resource allocation in the 1900s. Marxism starting to really kind of come in full swing. We're realizing that things might not be entirely fair, and like that's the thing, is you get this movement that stems from a desire to do well, but the problem is like you can't just socialize everything, because you're still dealing with power hierarchies. You're still having to like have a leader who's going to go up and say, yeah, we're going to do all this and everything's going to be great, and they're susceptible to the same same kind of corruption as any other power hierarchy. And in that manner, Marxism is a utopian idea. But the problem is that like we seem to be seeing a resurgence of this in some of the Bernie's, the more left kind of side of Bernie Sanders supporters. There's no way that capitalism could actually still work, because they understand that universal basic income doesn't change anything about capitalism, right? You just pass $200, you just collect $200 when you pass go. They understand that, and it infuriates them to think, oh wait, no, we're going to keep this machine going. And I can understand that. If you genuinely believe that capitalism is an evil thing, one, you're a little dramatic. Yes, it's got flaws, but like capitalism has led to some very good things. We have a very good standard of living, and I know that's not all to pin onto capitalism itself. We got the military-industrial complex and empirism and everything, but in a broad manner, it's provided some better alternatives than the rest of the world, and we've got a pretty good standard of living. It's falling apart right now. That's the issue. But we can fix it without having to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And it's becoming apparently clear that the Marxists are saying no, absolutely not. This conversation that I've had with this individual, which I know, come on, Seth, it's not important, the internet's fake, everything's made up, and the points don't matter. I know, but he's got 17,000 followers, and there's got to be some people listening to him. I know a lot of them probably are bots and everything, but it just grinds my gears. Like, it burns my biscuit. It chaps my ass. That he's sitting there and talking about I'm gonna just go way off on this. I need to kind of reel it in. I need to find some composure before I say some things that are just ridiculous. They're advocating for wage slavery. It's not that they want to share the wealth with everyone. It's that they want to be able to monitor behavior. They want people to be working. They want them to be productive members of society. And it's evidently clear that it's just an exchange of power structure. It's just going from corporate control of the world to a underhanded political identity politics control of the world. And that's terrifying in many ways, because then you're dealing with, all sorts of amorphous types of criteria that you have to meet as a citizen. Are you saying the right things? Are you thinking the right things? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? Corporate control sucks because you have to play the game, and the game sucks. And it still has its own forms of you can't say whatever you want when you go to work. You try to show up into your office and express your freedom of speech. If you say whatever you want in that office, you're going to run into some serious problems pretty quickly. To say that we are free is to completely just, you're lying to yourself. We are not free at all. Whenever you're holding a resource from someone, if you've got a box and you put someone in that box and you slowly start taking out all the oxygen and you say, pull that lever and we're going to fill the box up with a little bit more oxygen, that person's going to do it. But that's slavery. That is what slavery is. You're withholding a resource. You're a human withholding a resource that person would have had in a natural world, be they to go out and get it, be they to just freely live in the world as a creature, a natural human being. If you've got a resource that you need in order to survive in the world and you're withholding it from them, that is the definition of slavery. We may have abolished slavery in the 1800s, but we didn't end it at all. It's just taken another form. The problem is that we've brainwashed ourselves to a large degree, because our lives are better, because we have all these shiny gadgets, and we're able to take more vacations historically. Not anymore. Again, things are getting worse. Like when life's kind of, you get complacent there, and you forget the fact that, like, oh wait, hold on, maybe I'm not free. With the universal basic income, you're actually starting to tease the possibility that humanity reaches a level where, hey, we've got autonomous technology, we've got transportation that's able to actually go and complete the logistics of a 3.5 million, job industry and do it autonomously. We could use that to free up human time. Shouldn't that kind of be the idea? Like, that's the entire reason we got together as a community, to kind of take, I'll do this, you do that. We both work a little less, and we can have a drink by the fireside. Or I guess, they had alcohol, like just some fermented apples. Monkeys get drunk, so I'm sure. What am I talking about? I'm starting to ramble here a little bit. I'm going to try and keep this coherent, but it is my first episode, and I'm going to get better at this as I go along. We need to be careful, I think, before we accept Bernie Sanders as a supporter. I mean, as a political nominee, and I can't believe that I'm saying this, because ultimately I'd prefer him than... If Yang can't get it, I'd prefer Tulsi first. But it's a very slippery slope, and I don't think that people understand this. And I'm not normally the dire type of guy, but it is specifically with this one issue. I'm going to take just a moment here and see what's going on here. Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, I'm glad that we're in agreement here. With the echo chamber that probably no Sanders supporters are going to come along and actually hear. The people who need to hear this the most are just... I don't know, it's an issue. Like, this guy's been talking to me for 3 days now, and he keeps coming back every time that someone might like my tweet, because like you can just like sense the cognitive dissonance in it. And he's gotten to the point where he's just basically parroting like conservative ideology. It's so bizarre. It is so bizarre to see it happen, but this isn't the first time. It's happened multiple times before. So we've got this overarching battle between jobs guarantee and universal basic income. I never thought that this would be the case, but we're going into the summer debates, and that's I believe that this should be. It probably won't, given that the what do you call them? The moderators of the debates are going to be talking about this political identity issue or identity politics issue or this thing, and what would you do about this, and transgender bathrooms and everything. And not that some of those things aren't important, but like, this is what needs to be talked about the most. I hope that this debate overtakes everything else. And Yang is just saying it right now. He's saying, the best thing that I can hope for is for me to stand right next to Joe Biden and be able to juxtapose my idea with his. As soon as I can open my mouth, this is what Yang's saying, as soon as he can open his mouth and say, I'm Andrew Yang, and I'm running on the platform that every single American in the entire world should get $1,000 a month, because Donald Trump is elected because automation has wiped out millions of manufacturing jobs, and that we are focusing on the wrong problems, and the people of America understand this. The moment he does that, the game changes. It's over. It's all over. Oh yeah, especially now that he's gone through and said that universal basic income is a supplement to Social Security benefits. The boomers are back on the menu. I mean, it's game over if we can just get him into the debates and make sure that the DNC doesn't sabotage this. He just made a tweet where he's extending the olive branch, right? He's saying, DNC, thank you. You're being transparent. You're doing the things that you should have been doing in 2016. So thank you. And I'm sitting here just like, I'm waiting for it. It's not happening now, but wait. Something's going to happen, and I hope that it doesn't, but it's too good to be true. That, like, okay, just reel it back in, take a moment, take a few seconds to breathe. I got real upset in 2016 because some shenanigans went on, and it was so blatantly clear that Hillary Clinton was the pick, man. She had paid her dues. It was her time. and all of the elites knew it. They all bent the knee long before, and then they're all behind the curtain, they're all shaking the hands and everything, and then the curtain opens up, and bam, Bernie Sanders is here, and he's like, bitches, income inequality is going to ruin us. Wages have been stagnant for 40 years, and like the American people start to gravitate towards him, and it's like, no, what? This isn't what is supposed to happen. What? And then you see them like smiling and trying to be like, yeah, we're gonna go along with this, but they never from the start. It was rigged from the beginning, and I know that that's another incendiary thing to say, but it's the truth. It's the absolute truth, and I got my guard up, all right? I know my hopes are entirely up, and they need to be, because in my estimation, if nothing's done in the next 4 years, we're going to run into problems that it's like you have to start repairing at that point. It's not a question of can we prevent some amount of like absolute collapse. It's how much are we going to have to repair? And that's why 2020 is so important. So my hopes are up. That's why I'm doing this. I am spending my time doing whatever I can to help get Yang elected, and if my stream can help in any ways, I hope that it does. So again, make sure that you're subscribed. Share this with other Yang Gang members. We need to have people kind of getting together. The Yang Gang's the most intelligent group of people, so we just need to make sure there's as many of them speaking to one another as possible, because the amount of IQ, just the sheer IQ that you would get with a room of people in the Yang Gang, it might be enough to take down the establishment. It might be enough to beat them at their own game. I'm not sure. I'm an optimist. Okay, game over. That's exactly right. The boomers are coming. That was just like a moment of sheer happiness on Twitter, where it was, let's take this win. I am hoping to start to see a little bit more communication from the campaign. Like, does this change the math that Yang has been putting out there? Math is it's on the hats and everything, so we want to make sure that we're able to kind of watch our P's and Q's, or dot our T's and I's. Idioms, I'm not entirely sure, because he's been going through and saying, we're going to pay for it, generate $800 billion on a 10% value added tax, and then another $600 billion of that's going to be savings off of the cost of welfare, because we're not actually paying for that. So is any of that costs that he was doing including Social Security? From the looks of it, on my cursory glance, it doesn't include it, but you've got the problem of the other end where he was saying it's about $2.4 trillion in cost. Well, that's now raised up to $3 trillion if we're including everyone over the age of 18. So there's a very real possibility, and I hate this because, you can't have a conversation with anyone on Twitter if you're saying we might have to actually have deficit spending in order to make this happen. But that's okay, because deficit spending's apparently not a problem even for, conservatives right now. And but what about the debt? What about the debt and everything? Listen, nothing matters ever since we got off the gold standard anyways. So but so I really hope that now that they've kind of come through and clarified this, that maybe just do a math update. He talked about doing PowerPoint presentations, the first president to do PowerPoint in the Oval Office. Keep us up to date, and keep more of the math. That is such a powerful thing for a candidate to be doing, and I hope to see them maintain it. And I'm sure they will. They know what they're doing. We got some geniuses on the Yang campaign trail. I'm going to just read off some comments here and everything. The thing about the DNC, everyone knows the DNC screwed over Bernie. Even the hardest of hardcore Trump supporters know that the DNC screwed Bernie. That's exactly right. I've got family members who are big Trump supporters. I live in the South. And as I was trying to walk the line of like being like, yeah, I support Bernie. I like his ideas and everything. Like eventually it got to the point that they were coming to me and they were like, boy, your candidate's really getting screwed right now. Like they saw it happening and they were having the time of their lives. And they saw, honestly, it was a shock when Trump got in. But in retrospect, they say, yeah, we saw that coming. Yeah, the DNC just operates in the shadiest way, and I feel like I've gotten soft in the past 2 years. I've I've let my guard down. I feel like everyone's guard is down. We want to be optimistic about it, especially the Yang Gang, because we're optimistic about everything. That's what makes this movement so powerful, is we believe that there is room for change and there's a path forward. We've got the math, we've got the formula, we've got the answer. And it's hard to go back to the state of, wow, they're going to screw us. They're going to screw us over hard, because you don't want to be in that state. That's the scarcity mindset. And we're getting away from that mindset. And the more people that we can yang pill, the more people that we can explain, hey, there is an abundant mindset. Like, think about exactly how absolutely mind-boggling, insane our technology is right now, and then look at the state of the world and ask, why exactly are things set up the way they are? We do this since we were a kid. Since we were children, we sat around and we were like, okay, so that person does that and he makes that amount of money, and then this person does that and they make that amount of money. So that's important and this is not important. Like I said, from a very early age, resource management has been coded within us. And this is why I bring up the point that I think it's just absolutely ridiculous that we live in this society where it's somehow okay that making money playing video games, and don't get me wrong, I wish I could do it, look at what I'm doing right now, but making money playing video games is somehow a real career. And then taking care of children, and having to work 2 jobs to make ends meet, like, oh, you just made bad decisions. And it's like, if you don't see how labor is become completely skewed, then you're just, I don't know what to tell you. You're not thinking. You're not actually sitting with a critical mind and asking, wait, hold on, what? We used to do this. I have a theory that we used to be much more questionable about why things are set up the way that they are. And we need to do that, because things are changing so rapidly that the more and more that we go without asking these big questions, without bringing them into the national spotlight and saying, wait, well, hold on, like, what is this? And to hear Yang start talking about this, it's like, boom, we need much more of that. And I feel like, more people, if they can connect to that part of them that they've kind of just pushed away, that more questionative side, they're going to go, yeah, wait, hold on. Oh, why is that the case? And what exactly do we value and this and that, like, this is the wand. This is the magic trick that the elite have done. They've fooled us. The illusion's been cast, and we're bickering amongst each other about abortions and immigration and everything like that. And yeah, I know that they're big issues and all of that, but we we need to deal with the other things first. We need to, like, we're so misled as a country, and the Yang Gang's gonna solve it. That's all I can say about that. Yang pilling is the only way. Math is the path. I love that. I haven't heard that, but I love it. Meteor 2020 if Yang doesn't get in. All right, I'm for that. Yep. We can't let the DNC screw this up for us no matter what. I'm 100% convinced that if we don't get 2020 right, there will be no 2024, and certainly no 2028 election. We'll all be dead. Yeah, I don't have a very good outlook on it either, but humans, the reason why we're at the top of the food chain is because we adapt. So there's going to be a whole bunch of chaos, there's going to be a whole bunch of destruction, but if you're, a lot of the Yang Gang might survive just because of how smart we are. We see it coming, and I don't know. I don't want to see that happen. I don't want to see riots in the street, especially when it, like, when you kind of understand the abundance mind frame, you understand that it doesn't need to happen. It's so superfluous. The fact that we could have anxiety in this day and age about anything other than climate change, like climate change, I can understand. Like, hey, shit's getting real wild out there. We should probably start talking about this. Yeah, sure. That's uncomfortable. When you see 50% of ecology, 50% of species going extinct, like this is the second worst extinction other than the asteroid impact. Yeah, that's not great. That's not fun. Don't think about it. There's not anything that you or I can do. That's what we should be, like, terribly worried about. Not the fact that we can't get Orange Man out of office without putting in an elitist corporate shill who's going to just continue the status quo again. That would suck, right? That would suck so bad if that's the way that we went out, right? Like what they say, not with a, like, humanity's not going to die with a bang, but with a whimper. It's going to be like that. We're going to be whimpering as the DNC screws us over. No, okay. Deep breaths, optimism, positivity. I'm not going to go down that route for sure, but that's why I need to get a Yang Gang island. I agree. Peter Thiel and all of these Silicon Valley enthusiasts, they're starting to build these like techno islands that can like self-sustain themselves on the sea with solar panels and everything. We just got to get together and do something like that with 3D printers. Spicy memes incoming. Okay, I hope to see them. Riots will mess up that sweet view you got. I have no view, but this is green screen. But I'm probably missing some information. This is the future we must avoid. That's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, and like you can see this when Yang was in New Hampshire and he had that kind of talk, his voice kind of got a little bit shaky, which I felt like, oh man, maybe if this was later in the race, he could get a little bit of flack for. You don't show emotion, or if you do, you got to be real tactful about it. Every time Hillary tried to show emotion, she was just robotic. But you've got Yang here in New Hampshire talking and saying, I'm not trying to run for president because I want to be president. I'm running for president because I'm a parent and I see the direction that this country's going, and it's not a future that I'm willing to accept. And that got a standing ovation, and it did because it exuded that kind of compassion that I talked about earlier, in a way that this is a guy who understands what's happening, and that's why I'm so freaking Yang-pilled on him, and like I'm gonna start unironically calling him senpai here in a little bit, because I'm kind of low-key in love with this guy. If you asked my girlfriend, she would probably say, yeah, he's got a serious man crush on Yang. I just do. Like, we're lucky to have someone like Yang running for president. The more and more that I see him, the more and more that I hear him respond to questions that I get asked on Twitter, and I go off on these long, like, well, what about this, and what about that, and what about this? Like, he calmly, coolly, collectly is able to address questions with just bam, 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 bam. It's like he's thought about this for so long. He's got the tool set, the universal basic income movement. I didn't think this when I first heard of Yang, but they've got a great chance in the spotlight with Yang. I couldn't be happier about it. I really couldn't. I think we've got some serious potential. I'm ready for the summer debates. I wonder if I can do a live stream. They're probably going to take me down if I try to like do it in the corner or something like that, All right, let me see here. Did Trump say that? Oh man. That was the Lessing Town Hall. Yeah, okay. I'll remember that so that I can point people to it, because I really think that's something to share with people. So, yeah, we got that in the news. I fully expect more conversations against jobs guarantee and a universal basic income. That's just more to be expected. I'm going to have to come up with some more things to say, because it kind of sucks where it's like I'm bringing up the fact that we've got video game streamers, and then people are just immediately like, oh, wow, you're jealous of them, aren't you? Like, why don't you do it if you want to do it so bad? And that's just the issue. It's like, as soon as they start, I think that's the cognitive dissonance. They don't want to think about it too much, right? Because they've just fooled themselves into thinking that everything's okay. Yeah, it's perfectly normal to have people working 2 jobs, struggling to make ends meet, but we've got all this other weird stuff going on. Jeff Bezos can make $200,000 in 60 seconds, the equivalent of 4, average human salaries, American salaries, every 60 seconds. There's nothing wrong with that. And again, the problem is that like you want to be able to bring up those types of statistics, but also not come across as if you want to take all of their money, right? Like I said, capitalism's great. We've got no problem with that. The Yang Gang has no problem with that. And even inequality ain't so bad. I mean, it's terrible. Like, it's absolutely shitty all around, but, things are getting cheaper all around. If you can just eliminate basic poverty, if you can get your needs met, have a little bit more to spend at the end of it, I'm pretty optimistic we're going to get to the point that you can just buy anything you need. By 2030, I'm pretty convinced that we're going to have, powerful technology the size of blood cells, which cost pennies on the dollar. That's just the trend of exponential tech advancement. So the vision here is to allow capitalism to just completely make itself redundant and make itself outdated, and then eventually you move on to the next thing without any violence, because, change happens without violence, and we can see that historically, and we have no reason to believe that we can get out of this without having some sort of catastrophe. I'm trying to be yang-pilled. I'm not trying to be black-pilled. Oh, man. All right, but let's kind of just go through and see here. I'm going to go ahead and pull out here. I did a little bit of note-taking just in case I got to a point where it's like, oh, man. I should probably just kind of wrap it up here. I wasn't expecting to be able to go as far as, oh yeah, I've just got 15 more minutes till an hour. I could pull this off. I could definitely pull this off. Denial is a river in Egypt. I love it. I would love to go there sometime to the Denial and spend all of my life there. We've got, you know what? All right, yeah, I'd like to talk about this for a moment. This entire feel-good story about this billionaire guy who paid for an entire college class to have their student loans completely paid off. We're supposed to feel warm inside and ooey gooey that there's this type of humanity in the world, right? But if you understand the Yang Gang, you know that that's just, it's nothing, right? It's absolutely nothing. This guy would save a lot more money if he actually lobbied for a universal basic income. I've got a problem with charity, and not in the fact that it's like, oh, they should be spending more, or they shouldn't have the choice or anything. It's just a way for billionaires to make themselves feel good by like doing nothing to actually address the root cause of the problems, right? They're just doctors putting on band-aids on like gashes and, gangrene infested cuts and everything, and then patting themselves on the back and saying, oh, the future is going to be bright because I've helped these young people out so much, right? First of all, obviously college expenses in general are absolutely ridiculous. Before I spent how God knows, $600 million, I think, on paying off these tuition charges, I probably would have gone to try and actually change the educational system so that it wouldn't cost $600 million in the first place, because there's no way that you can do that value cost equation in your head and come out right. It really frustrates me too, because this is another delicate kind of conversation that you have to have with people, because they react so negatively to you coming out and saying it's actually a pretty bad thing that you have to have a billionaire to pay off $600 million in student loans. We shouldn't be fetishizing this guy. We should be furious. We should be rioting in the streets. Universal basic income can change this, right? Like, I have an issue with the entire accreditation system in this country. We've got more information in our pocket right now than the entire human existence has ever had before, right? The only reason that you need to go to college is so that you can get a piece of paper that says you did the work, good job, you're ready to be an actual productive member of society, right? But like anyone who's ever taught themselves how to code firsthand knows that you don't need to go out and spend $32,000 a year to attend an out-of-state tuition, but you do need it, because if you don't, you can't get into the right circles, you can't network, you can't get further ahead. I know this firsthand myself personally. The worst decision that I ever made was saying, oh, I'm not sure what I want to do with my life, and taking a break from college. Luckily, my state actually is providing free college tuition somehow. It's a southern state, so I don't know how we managed that. So I'm able to go back, but more importantly, as someone who enjoys academia, I like learning things. So I would go back to college in a heartbeat, but not to get a diploma, but just to keep myself learning new ideas. Possibly I might find something where it's like, this is what I'm meant to do. This is where I'm going to go through and do everything I can to better the human existence. We need to move away from the accreditation system, and when people are attacking Yang and saying, oh, wow, well, he's not for free college tuition, there's a reason why he's not. It's a sham. It's an absolute scam that's self-perpetuated by patting people on the back, right? It's this elitist, absolute nonsense. I just went to a college graduation the other day, and it was just like, I'm sitting there, and it's like, the amount of circle jerking that goes on in a college graduation ceremony, from the very first moment that they began speaking, they're trying to get their alums to pay it back. To pay it back. Pay what back? the $30,000 in tuition that I spent to go here, what am I paying back exactly? And I understand it's the bright future that you had ahead of you and everything, but if we really want to be able to pay it back and support sorts of things, this also goes further with scientific research and things of that nature, right? Like, we have charities built up. Like just for instance, on the front page of Reddit, it was a very heartwarming response that Emilia Clarke made to the Game of Thrones community, who, they wanted to vent their frustration, but in a productive way. So they were like, let's all say justice for Daenerys and donate to Emilia Clarke, the actress for Daenerys Targaryen, her charity. Let's donate. And she comes out and says, thank you so much. Like, imagine an entire population with $1,000 in disposable income, or $1,000 in monthly income, some of which we can imagine is disposable, right? Like, I am currently in financial hardship, so I can't even justify spending $1. It's that tight, my budget. But I could absolutely justify $5 with a universal basic income, right? And you start to, like, this abundance mind frame, it extends in so many different directions. If you want to be a giving person, you can easily do some. $5 this month for here, $5 this month for there. Way more if you're already someone who has an established career, who has a reliable income that's coming in. This problem with the billionaire paying off the money is just indicative of how backwards we are and how better it would be with a universal basic income. I wish that there was a short and coherent way to express that in a way, because this is the thing. You're getting these ideas, these problems of why trickle-down economics doesn't work. You're getting that through to conservatives. It just takes some tact, and then they start to see it. This is the next thing that I'd like to come out with, some sort of like very short, simple way of understanding for the right, because it's nothing to feel good about. All right, take it back, breathe it in. Okay. All right, and you know what? With that, I've just about made an hour long, and I am 7 more minutes. I could do 7 more minutes, easy. Here, let me read some comments. And again, I'm thinking about maybe doing this Monday through Friday. Feedback on the live stream, I would greatly appreciate it. How's the audio? How's this? How's that? Am I rambling too much? Too many tangents? Am I keeping you engaged and everything? Hopefully by episode 10 or 20 or something, I'm actually fully in it and I'm able to do it. So let's see here. Yeah, degree mills, exactly. Trump University. College is exactly a gatekeeper to the machine, and it's easy for me to say because I've obviously kind of got an axe to grind here, but I really do think, like, Yang talks about this in the fact of, like, we've got the brightest minds in the country getting churned out into a machine, getting saddled with debt, and then going out to Silicon Valley or going over to Wall Street to produce value for whom, right? This is, again, I'm going back to that value cost equation of, like, what's more valuable, a single mother raising 2 children, or Ninja, the Twitch streamer, or an entire generation of bright minds being employed to figure out how to sell you things on social media, how to keep your attention longer on social media. The point that I wanted to make earlier in this episode, and I'm going to rehash this later on because I'm sure the technical issues really kind of screwed me up earlier. The point that I'm wanting to make is that it's the furthest thing from a bad thing to end our obsession with work. We have to get away from the idea that everyone has to work, because the value equation is just skewed anyways. What do I care if someone is sitting in an office chair all day figuring out how to make me play Candy Crush and spend more money? Like, that's where the majority of our brain power is going right now. Yeah, it's increasing GDP, but are we really benefiting? No, we're not. We're not benefiting. And like I said, I'm going to rehash this. I'm going to rehash this a lot because people need to get it through to their heads. They need to, like, understand, man. They need to have their glass-shattering moment where the illusion fades and we all realize that we're just kind of trapped in this freaking disgusting dystopia that, what was the movie? Was it Them? No. no, what was it? He's got the glasses, and you're able to see the advertisements for the actual propaganda that they are and everything. We got to have that moment, man. We got to make Yang Gang glasses, which like will you've got these glasses that have like Christmas trees that you can put on, and the lights will reflect into them and everything. We got to have glasses like that just shower money. They shower money everywhere you look, and and you feel the abundance, right? We gotta have more people feeling that abundance. All right, and let's see here. Oh, hey, thank you so much, New Speed, for that feedback. I really appreciate that. And learning for the sake of learning, yeah. Graduation as a gate key to your future as value for you as a human, it's warped. I completely agree. It's absolutely warped. I do think that if there's some system in place to vet, like, yeah, as an employer, you want to hire the best, sure. We need a better system. We need something that's not obfuscating value in such a dramatic way. All right, and okay, cool. Tangents are good, great, because that's what I do best. I'm so attention deficit, it's not even funny. Okay, and yeah, if I can just kind of keep the tangents solid and maybe not go too far off, that's what I'll go. They Live, that was the movie, thank you, They Live. That was, I watched that as like a kid, and it started freaking me out, because, you start to actually consider those concepts. I really love what Jordan Peele is doing with Us and Get Out. I think that he's got very interesting things to say. Maybe not as blatantly as They Live did, but we should be using cinema as, I loved Avengers and everything, but it's a very lowest common denominator. Action blockbusters, that's all that Hollywood is right now. We could use a lot more, creativity like Jordan Peele. Social commentary, right? Like, we need more of that. It does the work. People hate working at my wage slave job. Yeah, wage slavery exists. That's, when you're watching, or if you've read Bullshit Jobs, it's so absurd to see, like, everyone hates their job. Like, you see the numbers, and you can't help but wonder why they turn around and then have a problem with universal basic income, because the people who have a problem with universal basic income, most of them probably hate their jobs too. And like, there are some jobs which need to be done, but those need to be done because it's going to be profitable to do them. And maybe no one wants to be a garbage collector. So if you have a lack of garbage collectors, then show the fact that they're worthy of that by paying them what they're worth, because they're going to be worth a lot more than a hedge fund manager. They're providing more value, but that value is not reflected in a 1-to-1 ratio of, like, I produce this and it has this value for society and we all agree upon that. That equation's long been skewed in a terrible, terrible way. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely work that needs to be done that people just aren't going to enjoy. I remember watching Dirty Jobs years ago, and you get this respect for these people, but you also think, like, never in a million years am I going to crawl down into that sewer. Like, you couldn't pay me enough to do it. There's definitely some people out there, but there's a price for anyone. Sometimes I do have the question of, like, is it possible? Is it possible that everyone has their price. Everyone wants to be able to work and better themselves. That's the entire point, right? You want to have a path towards self-actualization. My entire thing is that I want the world to be a better place, and I would like to do what I can to help us get there in the best way that I can do so. Even though I have maybe my own issues with wage slavery and this or that, it's ultimately always a path to progression. And if you find people who have generally just given up, it's because they've been just trampled long enough that they've become jaded. And more often than not, though, that's not the normal amount of people I've found in my experience. All right. 100% brother. Brain power for Candy Crush is pathetic. It really is. It really is. And this has been a problem since, like, the advertising, like, industry became a thing to begin with. All right, maybe not. Advertising's done wonderful things for business owners to be able to get your product out there and this and that and this and that, but I'm here to chew bubblegum and secure the bag, and I am all out of bubblegum. I wish I had some bubblegum right now. I need like some water or something. I see other live streamers talking and talking and talking, and this is not as easy as they make it seem, for sure. With all that out of the way, though, I've made it here to an hour. Oh my god. All right, cool. I did it. I'm going to be able to hopefully come back here. I'm thinking Tuesdays and Thursdays, unless it feels like there's enough Yang-related material to kind of keep it up every day. I'm going to have to start getting into like actual daily news, and I don't really want to talk about the Mueller report or, you know, what did Trump say today, because it's all just, you know, that's peanuts, you know, and the Yang Gang understands that. We've got our vision set so much higher, but it's our duty as citizens to also kind of remain informed about what's going on in the news and everything. So who knows, maybe I'll expand the discussion a little bit here and there. But all right, Yang Gang, thank you so much for joining the pilot episode of Securing the Bag with Seth Underwood. I'm Seth Underwood. I'm going to sign off here tonight, and I will get another dividend report episode out before too long. Yeah, there it goes. The alarm. All right, cool. Thanks, guys.